You were not born into a palace, but your life begins inside a world that quietly shapes global technology, business, and philanthropy in ways most people will never fully understand. The hospital room where you arrive looks normal from the outside, but the name on your birth certificate connects you to one of the most influential figures of the modern era. Your father is Bill Gates. Long before you take your first steps, his work has already changed how billions of people live. The software built by Microsoft runs inside offices, schools, and governments across the world. His name is associated with innovation, wealth, and influence on a scale that very few individuals in history have reached. But inside your early childhood, none of that feels extraordinary. Your first home is not just large or luxurious. It is a carefully designed estate overlooking Lake Washington, a property known for its advanced technology, private libraries, and quiet security. The house is often described as one of the most sophisticated homes in the world, but for you, it becomes something simpler, the place where everyday life happens. As you grow up, the environment around you reflects a balance that your parents intentionally create. Despite your father's immense wealth, your childhood is structured to feel grounded. You are taught early that money is not something to be taken for granted. Rules exist. Expectations exist. And the idea of earning your own path is repeated often. Unlike what many people imagine, your life is not defined by unlimited access or complete freedom. In fact, your father has publicly spoken about raising his children with discipline, setting limits on things like technology use and encouraging education, curiosity, and independence. Screens are not handed to you without restrictions. Conversations at home often revolve around ideas, books, science, and global issues rather than luxury or status. Because inside your home, intelligence matters more than image. As a child, you become aware of your father's work not through headlines, but through the constant presence of ideas. Books line the shelves in every room. Discussions about innovation, health, and global development take place at the dinner table. You grow up hearing about problems most children never think about: diseases in developing countries, access to education, and efforts to reduce global poverty. That is because your father's life is no longer focused only on business. Through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, much of his attention is directed toward philanthropy. Billions of dollars are invested into projects aimed at improving healthcare, fighting diseases, and supporting communities around the world. As you grow older, you begin to understand that your family's influence extends far beyond technology. It reaches into the lives of millions of people you will never meet. At the same time, your education becomes one of the most important parts of your life. You attend private schools where expectations are high, and your identity is shaped as much by your own performance as it is by your family name. Teachers treat you carefully at first, aware of who your father is, but over time, what matters most is how you think, how you learn, and how you carry yourself. Because even in a world of immense privilege, you are expected to prove yourself. Socially, your life exists somewhere between normal and extraordinary. Some people treat you like any other student. Others are curious, aware that your last name connects you to one of the wealthiest individuals in the world. But inside your closest friendships, the goal is always the same: to find people who see you as more than just your father's legacy. That is not always easy, because no matter how normal your parents try to make your life feel, the reality of who your father is never completely disappears. His influence is global. His decisions affect industries, economies, and entire sectors of society. His presence in media, business, and philanthropy means that your family name carries recognition almost everywhere. As you grow older, that recognition slowly begins to feel like something more than just attention. It becomes expectation. People assume you will succeed. They assume you will follow a path connected to technology, business, or global impact. They assume that your future is already written, shaped by the legacy your father built long before you were born. And at some point, you begin to ask yourself a quiet question. Is your life truly your own? Or is it something the world has already decided for you? As you step into adulthood, the distance between your name and your identity becomes harder to ignore. Until now, much of your life has been shaped quietly by structure, education, and the environment your parents created. But the moment you enter the wider world on your own, everything changes. Because outside your home, your last name is not just recognized, it is analyzed. By the time you reach college, you are no longer just a student trying to figure things out like everyone else. You are the son of one of the most influential figures in modern history, and whether people say it out loud or not, that changes how they see you. Some expect you to be a genius. Others expect you to fail, just to prove that success cannot be inherited. And somewhere in between, you are simply trying to understand who you are without the weight of assumptions. At university, life begins to feel more independent, but never completely anonymous. Classrooms are filled with students chasing their own ambitions, building careers, and defining their futures step by step. For many of them, the path ahead is uncertain. For you, the uncertainty feels different. Because every path you choose will be compared to your father's. If you study technology, people will say you are following in his footsteps. If you choose something entirely different, they will wonder why you stepped away from it. Every decision becomes part of a larger narrative that you never asked to be part of. Even friendships can carry a subtle tension. Most people treat you normally, but there's always a moment, sometimes early, sometimes later, when they realize who you are. And when that moment comes, the dynamic can shift. Not dramatically, not always in a negative way, but just enough for you to notice. Because genuine connection becomes harder when people see your name before they see you. As you grow older, conversations about wealth begin to feel more real as well. Your father has made it clear that the majority of his fortune will go toward philanthropy, rather than being passed down entirely to his children. The idea is simple: to give you opportunities, not unlimited wealth. At first, that concept feels surprising, but over time it begins to make sense. Because the goal is not to inherit a life, it is to build one. Still, the reality of your background cannot be ignored. You have access to networks, knowledge, and opportunities that most people will never encounter. You meet individuals who shape industries, influence global policy, and lead major organizations. Conversations around you often involve ideas that operate on a global scale. And slowly, you begin to realize that your position in the world is not just about privilege, it is about potential responsibility. Through your father's philanthropic work, you have seen how resources can be used to solve real problems, funding vaccines, improving education, supporting communities in need. You understand that influence, when used carefully, can create meaningful change. But that understanding also creates pressure. Because now the question is not just what you want to do, it is what you should do. Should you enter the world of technology and continue the legacy that made your family name known across the world? Should you focus on philanthropy, using resources to address global challenges? Or should you step away entirely and build a life that has nothing to do with the expectations placed on you? There is no clear answer, only choices. And each choice comes with its own set of expectations, comparisons, and judgments. At some point, you begin to understand something important. Your father's story is already written, but yours is not. The world may always associate your name with one of the most powerful figures in modern history, but that does not mean your life has to follow the same path. The challenge is not escaping the legacy, it is defining yourself within it. Because being the son of Bill Gates means growing up in a world shaped by innovation, wealth, and global influence. But it also means learning how to exist beyond it. To build something that belongs to you. And to decide, on your own terms, what your name will represent in the future. Because in the end, the most difficult part of inheriting a legacy is not living up to it. It is discovering who you are without it.